everyone. Welcome to Babies with Knives. Today we're going to be playing SuperGame, 3rd edition. This is a game that is put out by Priestess Intermedia, and we're going to be joined by my co-host Brandon Powers as our GM tonight. I'm your hostess Alice Peng, aka Lala Twiddle, and playing along with me tonight will be Aldo Regalado below me here, and Joanne, I don't really know your last name. I'm sorry.
Loda.
Joanne Loda. And our friend Wilfredo up in the far corner from us. Hey, Wilfredo. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
So, Brandon, why don't you take us away?
Okay, so we have a couple of random characters that I have previous experience with getting mashed up. Reprising, we have Alice playing the artist, who you might have seen in the Sugar Hill Invasion, run by John McMullen.
Yeah.
You have Aldo, that is going to be playing his character Ghostlight. And then we have two other characters. Joanne is going to be playing Lady Liberty, an old school character of Alice's, and Wilfredo is going to be playing the Scarab, who previously was working with Ghostlight in that same game. These characters it's a different universe than any of the previous ones, and you guys are kind of like an Avengers level team of superheroes based out of the New York City area. And you respond to threats all around the world. Today, you aren't dealing with any of your regular threats. You are going about life, whether that is your superhero life at the moment or your regular life. So let's go ahead and just start with Wilfredo. And what is Scarab up to at the moment? It's, let's say, about 5 p.m.
Well, I'll say that she's practicing her powers at the headquarters of the team.
All right, so Scarab is working on her powers. Joanne, what about Lady Liberty? What has she got going on right now?
I think Lady Liberty will most likely be in the university preparing her next publication.
Okay, you are up at Columbia University, which is...
a conflicting history about the Wendigo and its importance to the Native American people.
This sounds wonderful, and that you already understand exactly some of the stuff that Lexa got into. How about Ghostlight? Where do we have you?
Ghostlight is probably, wrapping up a case file at FBI headquarters and getting ready to leave work for the day.
Okay, and although I just realized something as I'm making notes and you guys are talking, do you realize that you control a strange green energy and your initials are GL?
I did not realize that, no.
And Alice, what about the artist?
I am doing volunteer social work in Chinatown.
Okay.
Or I'd be at rehearsals.
You are doing volunteer social work in Chinatown, because that is the exact first thing that popped out of your mouth.
Sounds good.
So I am going to go ahead.
Like,
why don't you guys go ahead and give quick descriptions of your characters, starting with Alice.
Okay. I am a Chinese acrobat. I forget the name of the show right now, but it is the show that tours across the U.S. And I aspired to be that for a long time until basically on stage I got messed up. So I dress very much in that style of dynastic flowing robes. I have pinks and purples. I have long scarves and sashes that I can drape out of my loose sleeves as I need. My hair is put up in an old dynastic Chinese fashion when in superhero garb. And I do not speak any English. So, yeah. Brandon, what, next person?
Yeah, let's go to Scarab and hear about Wilfredo's portrayal of the Scarab today.
Well, I don't have any notes here in the character sheet, so I'll make it up.
The only thing that's, I told you a couple things, and you have one disadvantage that she's a minor. She has a father that she, is beholden to, basically. So.
Yeah, she's mixed race, so feel free.
Well, it says here she's a modern-day girl who is hosting the power of the ancient Egyptian gods. And her powers are obviously scarab themed. She kind of reminds me of Isis. Everybody remember that character?
Yes, Tim brought that up when we were playing, actually.
Well, yeah, I remember that from my childhood too. So
she's a pretty creepy version of Isis.
Creepy, but yeah, I think I will go with that. Yeah, she's probably a custodian or something like that who probably found some artifact, and from that gain the powers and went with it and say, hey, why not become a superhero?
Okay, and how about Lady Liberty?
Lady Liberty is the good-looking type who draws the attention of men and women. She's got long, very deep red hair, startling blue eyes, an almost flawless complexion, except for a light sprinkling of freckles over my nose.
And last, Ghostlight.
Ghostlight, when he's in his superhero form, wears a midnight blue, muscle suit, skin tight suit, and wears a white cloak and hood, similar to Moon Knight's, I suppose. With a face mask that is solid, kind of like vaguely suggestive facial features, but otherwise just like a solid ceramic kind of visage. And he has a light. It's actually usually a white light, but it plays on the spectrum that hovers in the middle of his chest normally and kind of emanates, rays and stuff, but it actually plays on his costume and moves around depending on what it wants to do and what he's doing. He has the powers of intangibility and light projection, and he can also channel that light into his fists for for sort of martial strikes and things like that as well. Kind of like light-powered martial strikes and things like that as well. And he's an FBI agent on his free time. Out of his free time, I'm sorry, during his professional life.
No, it sounds exactly like the way that Lexa was simply a professor at Columbia, during her free time,
Yeah.
Hey. Kyle was the most awesome TA ever.
Kyle Resnick has not made that transition yet, so he's actually more Ghostlight on his free time.
Well, you need your own TA. I had my own TA there, so
Right.
This service. Awesome.
So, about 5 o'clock at night on let's put it on Thursday evening, all of a sudden it starts to happen. I'm gonna specifically be addressing not Scarab. I was going to say Scarab because that's Alice, Artist, and Ghostlight on this description, and then I will give the other two of you more what you're experiencing. You guys all of a sudden feel the earth roll beneath you. The ground begins to shake. The buildings around you, Alice, start to crack. You can feel something, just shifting like you're in the middle of a storm moving through the earth. You begin to hear both of you begin to hear the screech of metal as it's being bent to breaking Kyle, the windows in the office that you're in at FBI headquarters, begin to crack and break, and pieces of them begin to just fall off of the building. You're several stories up, and just large chunks as these buildings that aren't really meant to withstand something like this begin to react to it. The screams are the next thing that you hear. Alice, you're down near Columbus Park in Chinatown District doing social work, like you were saying. And across the street, you see a building begin to fracture and fall, trapping cars and people beneath it. The screams are emanating out, rolling into your senses along with the delicious scent of dim sum.
Are we able to react, or do you want to?
Not quite yet.
No problem.
Yes. Aldo, people are calling out, duck and cover, things like this. Some things that aren't really the way that we deal with earthquakes these days. But for the New York office, you guys aren't really accustomed to that kind of natural disaster.
Earthquakes. They're not used to earthquakes.
That's right. It's more of a West Coast thing for us, Alice. So, there's a bit more calm, but the ceiling gives way at points. But this is just lightweight garbage stuff that can quickly somebody can quickly pull people out of. The building externally has definitely taken damage, and just looking out from where you are at the moment, you can see the floor is obviously bent and bowed in ways that it should not be. The foundation of this building has definitely shifted. For up at the HQ on 890 5th Avenue, which is the same address as Avengers Mansion, so I always take that. You are right across the street at your guys' HQ from Central Park on the Upper East Side of it, and there you have the same feeling of the earth moving in the training center that you're in. Everything begins to rattle, to shake. Lady Liberty's weight set begins to fall off of its rack, which those weights are extremely heavy and dangerous to anybody but her to be using that's on the team. And so anything that would knock that off would have a great deal of force. But here, it's not so much that really jagged kind of tearing of the earth and such. It's much more a strong rolling of the ocean as the waves go through. You are knocked off your feet, Scarab, as this goes through, and scramble away from Lady Liberty's weights, rolling around in the room as they too are affected by this. Up further north from this, and is where we have Columbia, and let me go ahead and give you guys your map too. There. That's a link to just a map of New York that we're the same one that we're sharing at the moment, all of Manhattan. And up at Columbia, which is past Central Park to the north side, up in like the Morningside Heights or possibly the north side of Upper West. Never been to Manhattan, so my geography is a little flawed on it. But there, it's still, you're getting a pretty good rolling of the waves, but it's not near as strong as what Scarab is dealing with down at the mansion. There's a strong pulsing of energy in the earth. Things are falling off. If you're working on another book, then you're probably in your office, and the piles of books and such that your TA Kyle has stacked up and such for your research are falling all over the place. They slam into you and bounce off, more affected by hitting you than you are of them striking you. you naturally, instinctually begin to fly, relieving yourself of the stresses of the ground, and can hear, car alarms going off and all sorts of things. When you look out the window there, you aren't noticing the building damage to the same degree. Almost immediately, a voice comes up into your guys' various headsets. And this is an artificial entity that you guys work with that is at the HQ named Mindy. Alice. Good evening, heroes. I'm receiving reports from all over New York that there's been some sort of earthquake. I am checking on status at this time.
So what kind of comlink is she coming up with? Do you have a holographic one for me, since I don't speak back? Or actually, I can
speak in Chinese.
Yep, that's true.
And you have at least one person on the team that understands Chinese.
I know!
As well as Mindy.
Yes!
And who's that?
You do. Lady Liberty, she speaks all terrestrial languages. Basically, if it's a language that would have been naturally occurring on Earth, she can understand them and speak them, because that is the language that a worshipper would have come to her with.
So
cool, because I actually put linguistics as one of her knowledge.
She does have that, yes. So I'm going to ask where the epicenter would be. Ask Mindy if she knows where the epicenter of this is.
I repeat, are you okay, artist?
I'm safe. And by the way, at this point, when she's doing that, I'm going to be basically flinging my scarf to toss aside rubble, like deflect rubble from hitting people, and trying to rush my way in to help people.
Gotcha. I'm sorry. Were you being the artist doing social work, or were you being your mundane identity?
Mundane identity. So my shifting is that I spin kind of like the old Wonder Woman TV show, and my normal clothes start flying off, and then all of a sudden replaced with layers of scarves and flowing robes and clothes.
In the earthquake, that somebody was just knocked right out of their clothes. It looks like.
Apparently. But yeah, I'd be flinging my scarf out to deflect rubble away from people.
We are still accumulating data on where this has occurred. We are unequipped with sensors for this specific event. What of the rest of the team?
What are the possibilities of a naturally occurring earthquake for New York?
The ground is geologically stable here.
So we shouldn't be facing this sort of...
Is everyone okay?
I'm fine, Mindy. I'm fine here.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, the ground is geologically stable. I am uncertain of the origin of this. I'm picking up a number of alarms going off at local banks throughout Manhattan. On the news, I am seeing a feed that the top deck of the Manhattan Bridge has collapsed onto the lower deck. In addition to this, the Brooklyn Bridge has begun to drop cars in the East River. I'm trying to keep up with everything that is occurring as I'm receiving reports.
Okay. I'm on my way back to headquarters to meet up with everybody else.
What's the name of manga? I'm saying I'm a little busy here to meet up with you guys. As I keep flinging and trying to stop stuff.
The thing is, I'll pick you up on... Where are you?
I will give you my location.
So like I said, you are by Columbus Park in Chinatown.
Yep.
Chinatown is to the south. It's just north of the Financial District. Financial District is where Aldo is, basically. He's actually in Tribeca, which is just north of it.
Mindy.
And perhaps we should all rendezvous by The artist.
Yes, Ghostlight.
Mindy, give me the address of the bank nearest to me. You said these alarms are going off in all these banks. Give me the one nearest to me.
Okay. So she gives you the address of a local Chase bank that is probably on the same block as you. That takes the bottom floor of one of these buildings.
Okay.
So at the while this was going on, you were under a desk or something else. Are you just kind of ghosting out and slipping away?
Yes, that's exactly right. Mm-hmm.
All right. So yes, you can begin responding to that. Alice, you are currently dealing with all sorts of collateral damage in Chinatown.
My
And
focus is on the
trying to
people.
address that.
Yeah,
Okay.
my focus is on trying to protect people. So like I said, I was deflecting debris as it was falling with my, and throwing stuff. And then I'm going to create the airport sticks, lights, floating. And so they're just directing people over here, over there. Imagery.
Hey, team, I'm no good at catching cars, so I don't know if some of us need to attend to those bridges.
I'm going over there.
Awesome, Scott.
I'll head to Brooklyn Bridge.
All right. Alice, since you're the most on the street, in fact, you're the only on the street responder to start with as this goes down, and you have a deflect power, and you have something to deflect. Why don't we go ahead and go with that? Quick thing for viewers, the way this works is she has a modifier that is capped at the most anybody can roll to a die roll, add to a die roll is 12. At the tier that we're playing, that's the best. She'll take a positive d6, roll it, and then she'll take a negative d6, roll that, add the modifier to that total, and that's what she'll get. And I might have things that roll against her, or in this situation, just kind of have a difficulty that she is going against.
And on a quick note, in SuperGame, there are 3 different sets of dice mechanics that you can use. We're choosing the 2d6 method. So, my green die, I'm going to go watermelon method, so green dice plus, red dice minus.
I trust everybody on their dice.
Red dice minus, so that's a -2, so I get a total of 6.
So, since there's not an opposition roll, there is a general guideline on difficulties, and you have, at a 6, accomplished a task that would be hard for average people. This sounds like something that an average person could do on a small basis, is deflect some of this debris from people, but you're not going to be getting any of the large stuff as it's coming down.
Like I said, I'm moving towards where the big dangers are as I'm deflecting the smaller bits of debris.
Okay. And so you do knock some of it aside. We have 2 people who are responding to bridges and such. Are you staying in Chinatown at the moment?
Yeah, for the moment. And I'm going to call out, 你需要我跟我讲话.
And what does that mean to Lady Liberty?
Lady Liberty would know if she needs me, she can just talk to me.
So Lexa, Lady Liberty, you are, like I said, the northern point. The Scarab is over by the Central Park. And you guys were responding to the bridges. Which bridge were each of you responding to, did you say?
If I saw it correctly, Brooklyn should be the closest to me.
So it was Brooklyn and I think Manhattan, which are very close to each other, and they're both on the southern end. Manhattan is technically closer to you, but you're going to spend much more time getting down to that area. But you fly at a little under 200 miles per hour once you get going. So
I'm going to open the window by Liberty's grace, and off I go. I will head, as I already said, I was heading for Brooklyn, so I will actually head for Brooklyn.
Okay.
Because I'm also not too bad a swimmer, so anybody in the water I can bring out.
All right. Lexa flies off with her phrase spoken by Liberty's Grace. She transforms from wonderful, debutante Lexa Livingston and into the amazing Lady Liberty, superhero to the masses, and begins flying off. You see, as you leave Columbia campus, that all sorts of people point at, Lady Liberty and such, and, shout. Some of them wave hi and all. People are kind of knocked around. There's some accidents that you're passing, a larger than normal amount of accidents that you're passing as you fly.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whatever has happened was definitely felt up here, but you're getting the impression that it's much, much worse in the southern part of the island.
I will be keeping my eyes open for details that may come in handy. Just noting them as I fly over them, sort of thing.
Sure. Go ahead and just give me an insight roll, and this will come up a little later on.
For me, red is positive, green is negative. Well, I rolled 5 on both of them.
So what's your insight?
10 is in brackets. Is that what it would be?
No, that's the cost. What's the non-bracketed number?
5, then.
5. Okay, cool. I will just remember that. As you begin to fly south on the island. Scarab, what about you? How are you responding to this? You were the only person who was all set up in your getup.
Okay, so I am taking the other bridge and seeing, I'm going to teleport there, and there are cars falling into the water, right? Is that correct?
There are cars that have been dumped. The bridge, part of it is still hanging on, that not all the supports have broken, but it is hanging like this. There are cars that are still on. People, some are trapped in cars. Others, people have abandoned their cars and are just trying to hold on to the section of the bridge. Some people up top at the bridge that have not broken are, trying to get something together to pass down to the folks that are there. It takes you a little while because your teleport, unfortunately for Scarab, is a little bit local. Points got tight as I was trying to make everybody. And so it's going to be several teleports for you to get out to that range. I'm going to jump to Aldo, since he was responding to one of the banks. The Chase Bank at this point, New York does not believe in banking hours by any means, especially not that hard 5 o'clock close. And so the bank is still open. As you ghost through the building and begin to float down, having become the ghost light, you can see that their cars, parked cars, as well as cars that were in transit, have just been knocked askew, like somebody has just kind of brushed aside toys in their wake. And so there's car alarms going off all over the place. Lots of detritus has fallen off of the building and broken glass and such. You can see all sorts of people who are injured on the ground as you begin to float down towards the bank.
Okay. Can I make an investigation roll to see if, there are any signs of, I know you said cars were kind of like, scattered around. Was that because of the wave that came through and caused this, or does it look like some, super strong person came in and scattered stuff? Do I see any signs of...
Sure, go ahead and roll your investigation.
Okay, so red is going to be positive. That's a 1 and a 3, so it's a -2.
You guys are doing awesome on these rolls so far.
I know. And is that an insight?
Yeah, that would be using your insight.
Okay, so that would be a 2, and then I have investigation as a skill. I don't know how that adds or not.
That's just if it's applicable, you're doing it without penalties, basically.
Okay.
If somebody was trying to investigate and didn't have the skill, there's a few ways that I can modify that against them.
Okay, fair enough. So that's
a
2 total.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you look about and you're not able to discern anything that might have passed through. It looks like probably rush hour traffic, and that all of a sudden cars just started, getting pushed around by the wave of energy that passed through and shook. And as you are going, what you really do notice, and your eyes are drawn to, the buildings are still obviously shifting, swaying side to side.
And
Never disappeared, did I?
You glitched up a little bit, and so Aldo, you float down to the Chase Bank. You have people here that you're getting closer to where the building has dropped glass onto and such, and so you have some injured people. Some of them look not in pretty bad way that they got hit by the glass. Others it's just that they got rained on a little bit, and so have minor cuts and scrapes. Lots of people have fallen. People are checking on other people. There's all sorts of yelling in the street, and just as you get further and further down towards the ground, it gets noisier and noisier. As you get to the bank, you do hear a non-silent alarm resonating out from the bank. Glass at the base of the bank has been broken, but that's true all over the building. There are people, both employees and likely customers, or perhaps some people sheltering within the building after what has gone on.
Can I make a security roll to know whether or not this alarm would have been set off by a quake, just as a matter of course, or whether that alarm would have been set off by some sort of, would need to be set off by, manually by a teller, or because a vault was breached or something like that?
Without any need to roll, and you're welcome to roll, but without the need to roll, what you do know to start with is that all the vaults in New York, as well as most places, do have a lot of sensors to discern basically geological activity and such, because of these tales and as well as attempts to dig into vaults and such, to get the goodies out, as they say. And so with this amount of distress that has gone on in the city, it's very obvious that something has occurred here that would probably set these kinds of alarms off.
Right. But
and so as FBI, you do know that a lot of these alarms will be kicked on by what has occurred. Yeah.
By a quake. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
if you have further questions on it, you can by all means roll and ask.
Yeah, no, he'll just use his flight power to, if he assumes they're not actually targets of somebody that's caused this, to be able to target, but just to make sure, he'll make a pass through the building, phased, to make sure that there's nothing else that's going on. And with that, if there is nothing else, he'll probably then make his way towards the artist to see if he can help out there.
Okay. Since the artist has moved away, we're going to jump over to. Okay, you're not there though.
I'm here.
Okay. Artist, you have done a little bit to save some people, but there's others that you have a building right on the same block that's basically collapsed into the street, putting people underneath it. There's, similar to what Aldo was seeing, car accidents and such that have occurred. It's busy rush hour traffic time, and Chinatown is, right in the center of downtown Manhattan.
Okay. Do I see any first responders around?
You looking around, go ahead and make an insight check.
Sure. And that's the non-parentheses number, right?
Yes.
Okay. Green's always first, so that's the plus. Woohoo! That is a 4.
Okay. Looking around and just surveying, you don't know if first responders, if the amount of accidents that you're seeing here, of the cars, and you were the only one that had eyes on this as it happened. Mm-hmm. As that wave came up, cars were just kind of skidding around, kind of like in a fishtail slides sort of way.
Okay.
And so all of a sudden you have rush hour traffic that's doing that, whether the car was stopped or not. It just kind of got pushed around. And so, the most of the accidents, they're not necessarily big, dangerous accidents, but you have your roadways are entirely snarled.
Yeah, but you're saying that a big building has a bunch of people crushing under it. So
Yes.
I'm going to actually, a big thought bubble comes up, like a giant one that, that everyone in the nearby vicinity can see. And it's going to show a first aid kit and a person dressed as a doctor and a person dressed as a nurse and a big question mark. And then it's going to have a big arrow underneath it pointing over at me as I head over to the building where people are being crushed. I'm going to try and excavate them best I can. If anybody is exhibiting crush syndrome, I'm going to leave them. But people that are just buried and had the hole, I'm going to try and start getting them out. But I'm avoiding people with crush syndrome for anybody who might be coming that might have medical capability.
Okay, I want you to make 2 rolls for me. The first is going to be a general cluster roll for your images power as you are constructing this to try and summon aid.
Okay, nice. That is a 12, actually, on the dot.
Oh, that is
That's
a
the
very
best I
strong
can get.
roll. The other one that I need you to make is a sensory roll.
Okay.
As you are an empath artist, and that is a
Yes.
funnel for how you became the artist that you are, is that
10.
you feel the emotion. Okay, there is a wash of uncertainty, fear, despair, all these negative emotions that are really assailing you. You are able to resist that.
Okay.
And just hold on to yourself amid that, weather that storm, basically. As you put up your call beacon, you see an older woman as well as 3 younger men come from where they were doing Tai Chi in Columbus Park and over to you. The woman speaks in Mandarin. All of them are Chinese in descent. Her name is Dr. Mack. She is a local doctor, and is here to basically render aid as well. And so you are trying to basically pull people out of the wreckage if you don't think that they are too damaged.
Right, and now that I have the doctor here, basically, I'm going to have her start setting up triage, because we're in the middle of Columbus Park, so there is going to be a section, that we can start setting up triage, and I'll call her over if basically I think someone is basically crushed. Because even basic first aid, do understand, if someone is crushed by a large thing, you don't move it. Like if they're stabbed, don't remove it. It'll make things worse.
Now, how are you planning on getting these people out?
Well, so I am going to be attempting to basically brute assault the pieces that are on top of them off of it. I'm saying brute assault because that happens to be system. But I'm basically trying to beat the pieces off of them, trying to shove them, trying to utilize, create leverage with my scarves and with my robes as I, wrap around it and then just start flinging it around. I'm doing scarf dances with rubble.
Okay. Remember that when you use assault, that it is primary effect is a knockback on it.
I understand that. So basically, I'm going to try and basically be aiming that knockback away from, away from danger, and I'm going to try and position myself underneath, and therefore be doing the knockback up and to the side rather than, so I'll even get down on the ground as I need to, kneel and such. And also, since the directional, the direction of my scarf dance anyways would be this kind of circular this way, so it naturally would fling that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Go ahead and make your roll on that.
Sure. That is going to not be good, so I'm going to utilize a hero point, because that would leave me at a 5. I'd like to try and do better than that.
Okay.
And that flipped it, so I went from a +1 -5 to a +5 -1. So 4, that's a 12.
Well, you are rocking most of these.
Well, that makes that hero point worthwhile. I am down to 5 hero points.
Okay, you begin to make progress locally on rescuing some of these people from the situation that they find themselves in. Dr. Mack, as well as 3 of her friends that are at least basic first aid trained, are responding and assisting you with that. The group of you, either you knocking them away or the younger men using leverage and such. You guys are scavenging, pulling people out of cars, such like that. But the scene is just one of absolute distress here, as there are people crying in the streets looking for their loved ones that are missing. And just, people, tear-stained faces, crying out to ask the gods why this has happened. Then we are jumping back over to Lady Liberty, and that was a 12 that Alice had. So quick thing on system. Basically, I'll set a difficulty and to something. For every point that you are above it, that is 1 point of overkill. And so Alice just generated a certain amount of overkill on her action to try and quell some of the problems in Chinatown. The same thing, if you punch somebody, the overkill becomes damage. There's also underkill if it matters for how close to success you were. And so that's just kind of what the way that I'm dealing with that. You were going to the Manhattan Bridge where the top... No, you're going to the Brooklyn Bridge that has cars dumped into the East River.
Right.
Yeah, you quickly respond. Like I said, flying about 200 miles an hour once you can get going. And as you are flying over the city, things get worse the further south that you get. The closer to the financial district, which is very much in that southern point of Manhattan Island. And I'm treating Manhattan as a north-south. I know that it is not exactly that, but it's just easier that way. The further south that you get, the definite worst things are. There were a few traffic accidents where you were and such, but they increase. The damage to buildings becomes more and more obvious as you are heading south. It's really when you finish passing Central Park that things really become more and more noticeable.
Okay.
Arriving at the bridge, you have a scene that just horrifies you at the onset, because, like I said, the top deck of the bridge has dropped down. There, are cars that are trapped, and there are obvious fatalities that, just arriving on it, that there's some of the people in these cars are not going to be in this world any longer. But you also are well aware of plenty of stories of, like, people from the '89 earthquake that survived for 3 days before they were uncovered when the upper deck of that bridge came down.
Okay.
So how do you wish to respond here? There's also on the bridge, there's a rail. I forget the specific rail that does use the bridge. That is not in your sight at the moment, so it is not part of the scene. It's just lanes of traffic.
Does it look like there's any point that this bridge is going to collapse?
Go ahead, and you can go ahead and make an insight check. Do you have any skill that is applicable on that? A knowledge of engineering or something like that? That's definitely not in your normal wheelhouse, but certain pitches might work.
Moment. Well, general knowledge, so I gather I would, geometry and such things would be under that, so I'd know and be able to quickly calculate things while going there, seeing from the amount of damage and such things. And Brooklyn Bridge has a very
historic
interesting history.
So you would know about many of it. As I was prepping for this, I think 7 bridges in New York were the longest bridge at a time, and I thought that was super interesting that they just kept one-upping each other, basically.
So I'm guessing that I would know what the carrying capacity is, what sort of damage it would need to take, where that damage would need to be.
Okay,
and
go ahead and make your insight check.
Okay, -2, +5, 3, that's 8.
And is this one of your expertises, or is this just a normal? Did you count the expertise bonus if it's applicable, basically?
I don't know where the expertise calculates to.
That's not in the system, Alice. But I noted some of them that were expertise skills. So an 8, though, that is a pretty good. You look at this and try and analyze.
Knowledge history is expertise, if that would count. I mean,
yeah,
that a lot of that would be under history too.
You made a good argument on history. It was worthy of Alice, the argument that you made for history, which is high praise in my book.
Then it's a 10.
It's a 10. Okay, you are looking at this. You take a moment to fly around and really get a lay of the land as you're looking at it, and you don't think that the lower deck, is currently in danger of dumping, based on the load that is on it.
Okay. Then I'm going to start working on getting the cars on the upper deck away, and then moving them to points of safety. Because it's just going to be easier to grab the cars and move them than convince people to overcome their fear and get out of it. So I moved the people with the cars, and once I've done that, I'm going to start moving the rubble in a way that's safe, so I don't to prevent further collapsing of the upper deck.
Okay, so this sounds like you're mainly using your lift. So go ahead and roll your sheet's got whatever that total. It'd be the fitness plus your lift.
So then I need to go to page 7 of the book to look at that table.
No, it's just that's up 10 is your total modifier. So it would be the D66 plus 10.
Is it possible to go up to 12?
Yes, you can go above 12. You just can't add more than 12 to the dice.
Okay, it's a 1 versus 4, so that is going to be a 13.
Okay. Lady Liberty is, responds to the scene. She begins, takes a circuit around. You can hear calls and cries for help in general, as well as specifically people have seen you. And you even feel some people almost like praying that you will come and save them. As you not even hearing that, but as you get closer, you feel these supplications. You respond and start grabbing cars. At parts, you just kind of stack them on top of other cars that are on the safe part of the bridge. There's a garbage skiff that is going by. You're dropping cars off on that. Just trying to find anywhere that you can safely put some of these vehicles. And you are able to find plenty of different areas to start dropping them without needing to make the whole trip back to land or something like that. And you quickly do start pulling people back. Then we're jumping back over to Scarab, who she takes much longer than Lady Liberty to teleport over to the bridge. It might actually be that you guys coordinate. Lady Liberty picks you up, and then you start teleporting after she gets you closer. Since you were definitely on the way. And I described this, the scene of, that you've got the deck of the bridge has collapsed. There's still some cars on the dropped deck. You can see people swimming in the water. Some you see watercraft, some of which have overturned, others of which are trying to navigate the local area and enact some sort of rescues onto the people who have been pitched into the water. Here, Scarab. You, I don't think, fly. So you are just relying on your teleportation and other powers. So go ahead, and how are you responding to this scene?
Okay, how strong is she? Because I don't
She has
know
a
if
fitness of 2, so I at some point, and I couldn't find this later on when I was reading the book. Normal people will be between fitness 1 and 3, and so a pretty strong guy or a really acrobatic person would be 3. I think that at 2 you're above average. Basically, you're a superhero. You work out.
yeah, but, her sheet says 2 and in parentheses 4. So I
That's the
don't
cost.
know.
Ignore the numbers in parentheses. Those are
Oh,
always
okay.
costs.
So I cannot really pick up a car or anything.
No. But you
Oh.
can summon all sorts of scarab beetles to do that for you.
Yeah, you can summon armies. You've got an army.
Because
power
you've
of
got
army.
telekinesis.
I am going to have to do that. I'm going to use telekinesis, and that's my first priority. The people who are falling into the water right now, I'm going to try to pull them back and away from the edge of the bridge. So I'm going to do that with my telekinesis or my dog army, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. So, I'm just... So I am just flipping to the page. Exotic, general, I've gone past it.
Telekinesis 4.
Yeah, that 4 is just the cost.
The cost again.
The character can use his mind to perform attacks, lift objects, and attempt other tasks, which is a distance equal to the area value for this cluster rating. Make a die roll adding only this cluster. So yes, you do just use the straight telekinesis. Okay. And it effectively replaces your fitness. So basically, Wilfredo, for you, let's look at the mass. She can lift 30 kilos with that fitness rating. Her telekinesis, so her army of scarabs, is able to lift up to 10 tons working together.
That should pick a few cars.
Yes, by all means. And you can get them to work within 50 meters of you, so half of a football field, basically. And
Okay.
but yeah, teleporting over onto the bridge, you are able to respond and begin, your army of scarabs, which are far lighter than cars or construction equipment and such that might pull these cars back. And go ahead and make your roll. So it's going to be your whatever the cluster is, the psych cluster.
Psych cluster, so he gets a +8. The modifier is 8 for him.
Okay, so I add a plus to the good dice, or do I add after the rolls?
Take your dice, get whatever your value is, whether it's positive or negative, and then add the modifier after that.
Okay, that will be a +8, right?
Yes.
So, no. Stop, Brandon. You and Wilfredo are on 2 different planes here. Wilfredo, first you take 2d6. Designate one of them as a positive modifier and the other one as a negative. So if you roll a +3 and a -1, that's 2. Then you add that 2 to the 8. You need to figure out which one's positive and which one's negative. So you want them different.
Positive
right now,
and negative.
Well, okay. Make sure you know where they land because those 2 dice are the same that you're using. So try and use different dice if you can.
Positive is 1. Negative is 1.
Okay. So you end up with an effective 8 on that.
And I add the +8 now, right?
Yeah. Yep. So that's why you're at a total effect of 8. You respond. As your scarabs. I couldn't think of that word for some reason all of a sudden. Your scarabs onto the bridge. They begin rescuing people as you attempt to apply the full power of them into the situation. You can hear the bridge begin to creak, even though they're lighter. They have an effect on that precarious weight still holding this up. So you are pulling people back, but you are not able to basically use the full extent of your power onto that. Some people call out to you, that save me. Other people scream as these bugs begin to arrive near them. You hear one person go, "Why didn't Lady Liberty save me?"
I'm not supposed to laugh. Sorry.
All right, Aldo.
Yes.
You are the last person that we are giving the actual response action to in this, and so you have arrived down at the bank. You don't see anything that immediately strikes you. The security guard doesn't have his gun out or anything like that. Nobody seems harmed by a physical altercation.
Yeah.
What is it that you want to do at that point? I think you said you were going to fly over to
If
where the artist is.
where the artist is, if there's anybody that he could help here, I mean, he doesn't have medical training per se, but if there's anybody that he feels he could help here from injuries that people aren't getting to or whatever, he would stop to do what he can. If he really doesn't feel that he can help the situation in any appreciable way, then he'll try to rendezvous with the artist and see if there's anything that they could do together.
By all means, each of you will have some basic understanding of first aid type stuff. Scarab is the one with the most advanced medical knowledge because of the passing of her mother. But as an FBI agent, you would definitely have an understanding of what to do. You can stay here and respond to what is going on, attempt to either alleviate suffering or save people that are in the local area, or you can move on. There's definitely plenty of people. There's a lot of chaos. You could also, if you wanted to, kind of just try and organize a little bit on the scene.
Yeah, he'll do that then. If there's need here, he'll do that.
Okay.
Organize on the scene and help out anybody he can here.
And how are you going to go ahead and accomplish that? What are you putting to it?
Well, if he thinks that by using persuasion he can kind of direct resources to more efficiently kind of deal with the situation, he'll do that.
Yeah.
If not, he'll just roll up his sleeves and do what he can with first aid. He'll try the other one first.
Yeah, there's plenty of people around, so you could definitely use persuasion. If you are trying, just as a system note, if you are trying to, logically or impassioned argue with somebody to get them to do something or convince them of something, that's an insight. If you're going to try and strong arm somebody, that would become a fitness. I think that you're more on that insight side, but I just wanted to make the note on that.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, insight it is. So positive die is a 6, negative die is a 4, so that's a 2, plus insight of 4, that's a 6 total.
Okay, you spend some time working, and it's not just on that block that but as you're moving through with that goal of meeting up with artists and trying to put some sort of organization and get people to start rescuing people.
Mm-hmm.
And so people definitely do respond to you, you probably stop at times and try and phase people out of the trapped cars, things like that, and general rescue. As you're continuing on and everybody's taken these actions, Mindy, who has been communicating with you guys at different points, comes back on with you all. The damage certainly seems to be centered in the southern Manhattan Island financial district area. There is other reports from the local area. The Holland Tunnel has broken down. There is flooding coming into the tunnel over to New Jersey, and the Staten Island Ferry has taken on water, and they're attempting to get rescue craft out to it, but other responders are trying to get everywhere. All resources are being pulled in by the city, and the mayor of New York City has authorized our team into whatever actions that we might feel are necessary at this time.
Mindy, have you reached out to local authorities on the mainland for assistance, especially with the craft in the water and such?
The New York Port Authority is responding to the Staten Island Ferry as fast as it can. There are a number in harbor. There's a number of problems from the
I mean,
tidal
New
wave
Jersey.
effect.
I mean New Jersey. Across the... Yeah.
From New Jersey, they felt it there as well. They are attempting to scramble whatever watercraft, but what's in the water right now is, in a lot of ways, the assistance that they're going to be getting. They have a Lifelight helicopter that's flying out to the ferry to get anyone who has been severely injured and begin to ferry those people to safety of land. But the state of the craft is unknown at this time. And as she's talking to you guys feel another one of those powerful rumbles through the ground.
I'm gonna call for her to trace it.
Ghostlight, you're flying over at the moment, and so you don't actually feel it, but you see plenty of it. Lady Liberty similarly is in the air, but Scarab and the artist definitely feel this movement and such. And Alice, what were you saying?
I'm gonna call for Mindy to trace it while when it starts happening again.
Mindy says that she's dedicating all available, sensors that she has tapped into to try and find where this might be coming from or a cause of it. The alarms, start going off again at the all the local banks, at the Federal Reserve, museums, and she. To any of you who might have a little heads-up display, like Ghostlight might have that on the inside of his mask or something like that, you guys see a list of all the places, of major places that these alarms are going off on, start scrolling past you and such.
Okay, I'm fairly further south, and I'm not actually hampered with my view, judging from the map of what I see to the south. When I start sensing this, I want to look in that direction. Is there any point, maybe off the coast or so, where this wave might be building up, or is it seeming to come further away?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and make your insight check. I'm going to give you a +2 because you are flying with a very unencumbered view. It's getting dark by all means, but...
Insight 5 plus 6, 11.
All right. You are looking at it, and having grown up in an affluent family and spent years working, with boats and such like that on the water, as well as one of the first missions that you really had with your superhero team, that was when a charity barge you were on was assaulted by a group of kind of post-apocalyptic metal men infusions, cyborgs. You're used to working on the water, and you're looking around, and you don't think that it's coming from out there. It's radiating from Manhattan. Whatever is causing this force wave is centered, it seems to you, in Manhattan. That the way that the waves are rolling and such tells you that.
Brandon, do I see the... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mindy, keep focus the search on the southern point of Manhattan. It is not coming from further away. It is from the island itself, from what I see here.
Okay. Go ahead, Ghostlight.
Yeah. Does the wave sort of pass under him and he sees the cars like skating away and stuff?
Yeah, the ground is literally rolling at times, yeah. And because being in the 89 earthquake, I was just up at my house, but the stories that people have that from that time, and that you could literally see the ground kind of roll with it at points.
Right, yeah.
Really strange.
We could see that at my where I was. Yeah.
Right. So, if he sees the direction that it's passing him from, can he just turn and follow the direction, follow in that direction, backtrack it basically based on the
go against the waves?
Go
Yeah.
ahead and make your investigation check. I
Right.
love this idea. I'm giving you a +2. First of all, you've got Lady Liberty. Actually, Lady Liberty. I'll do this as a combined skill, and the way that works in this system is you don't pick who's going to be the primary and who's going to be the secondary. Everybody rolls, and whoever succeeds the most is the primary. Everybody else is kind of assisting them.
All right, cool. Perfect. So my positive die is a 3. My negative die is a 2. That's a 1. So that's a 5.
Inside
Okay. And so 5. No, you already made your roll.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Aldo, you start as you hear this and the wave is still going on. Luckily, you're able to fly, and so you're over this. You turn and try and start following the source of this, and you're going to be taking some time basically to try and track back, and you definitely do. As your investigative mind looks for patterns, you start noticing, that the way that the cars and such, or the brakes, you can see that force wave and how it has traveled out from a given point.
Okay, perfect.
So, anybody else with an action at the moment?
I'm going to do my best at the moment with the Brooklyn Bridge because the thing is, you've got Holland Tunnel, and I really need to protect both Brooklyn Bridge and Holland Tunnel. I mean, Holland Tunnel is it is literally the first mechanical vehicular tunnel in the world, so it needs to be saved. The people need to be saved. So I'm going to try to get people, wrap this up here on Brooklyn Bridge as quickly as I can, and then move to the tunnel. I mean, the ferry's been dealt with, but the tunnel, they need specialist equipment with that. I don't need the specialist equipment. I'm going to do that as soon as I'm finished here.
Well, Fredo, go ahead.
Or as soon as there's rescue people here, I will move on to the tunnel.
All of you, by the way, are seeing that more and more, kind of first responders are getting to places. It's not necessarily like the ambulances are having a lot of trouble on the roadways and such.
Yeah, it's going to be like an hour before certain people get help, kind of thing. Yeah.
But doctors live all over the place. Nurses live all over the place. Paramedics live all over the place. And these people are responding. Police officers live everywhere. Mm-hmm. And these people are hitting the streets and starting to respond. And this has been, probably about an hour or something that you guys have been at this so far.
Are cell phones still working?
Cell phone towers are out. Your guys' system, which is run through Mindy, is still working.
Okay. Well,
all of you know that sat phones would be working as well.
My question right now is, as I feel another wave coming on, the first thing I'm going to look for is construction equipment nearby, and try and basically drive or move some of the cranes against some of the buildings, move some of the pieces to try and brace them. I know it won't stop completely, but moving some of the cranes and such, the beams to brace can help, which is what I want to do at this point before another round hits.
When the buildings land on a tilt, the crane will act as a
support.
Support.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually really. Yeah, I'm going to be sending back to the artist. Brilliant. Good call. And if I see anything, that might help her, I will give her locations if I've saw fine.
Okay.
She's inland by a bit, so you out at the bridge, you're not going to be seeing anything for her.
Mm.
But, Alice,
yes, but I will be flying to Holland Tunnel eventually, so I will see it then. I will go over that little detour.
Awesome.
Yeah. Alice, you are you trying to do this yourself? Are you trying to get people organized on this? How are you approaching the problem?
I would definitely look for the construction workers, and I would start, I would have the nice big bubbles over my head if they don't speak Chinese, and I would start explaining, I need you to move these to this building, that building, and start coordinating with that.
Okay.
Utilizing my empathy to try and make sure that I am saying in a way that calms them and that shows them that they can retake control in a situation like this. Giving them the power of control in their mind is really, really powerful.
Okay, I'm going to allow you, because I love your power and of the create illusion and how you came up with an icon's character and got your thing, but you don't have persuasion as a skill.
Right.
So I'm going to be giving you a neg 2 to your use of create illusion.
Okay. Well, with a neg 2, I have a +6 -1, so that is that's a +5, so that's 11 after my neg 2. I have an 8 sensory.
You guys have got
empathy.
some nice rolls. Oh, you do have empathy, so that's a pretty good ability there as well.
Which is why I called that I'm specifically empathizing and trying to adjust his mode of thinking from this panic fear on the construction workers to showing them that they can have power over this and start making a difference and empowering them.
All right, so you come up to the scene. A lot of the construction workers have gone home, but there's still some that are on site that are closing up different aspects. This is going to be more your managers of the site for the day and such like that, but not managerial types. These are still the blue collar workers.
And also, some of these people might be the people that were doing street repairs and such like that. They would also be trained. The city employees that are doing the street repairs would also be trained in cranes and such. So I'll be basically getting them to basically start getting the equipment and moving them to brace buildings so that it gives it some stability.
Yeah. What's the artist costume look like again?
So I don't have the actress but the old dynastic robes. That, like when you, and it's long flowing sleeves, long robes, very flowing and diaphanous, and coming out of my sleeves as I motion my hands around, different lengths of scarves come out, but they're always attached to me. And so as I move, basically it's a flowing of ribbon and sash is the way that it looks whenever I move around.
Okay, what about your face or hair?
Purples, blues, and some pinks. I look like I look like a very young Chinese woman with my hair in Chun-Li buns with the classic dynastic hair pieces.
Pretty.
With classic dynastic hair pieces, and in gold and gems and such like that hang. Similar to that, the picture that you just showed, but I'm wearing primarily blues and pinks with some highlights of purple.
All right. You come up to this after having organized and rescued a number of people that were affected locally.
And I do have a spot painted on the center of my forehead, a red spot.
Okay. And you see a couple guys that are kind of, basically trying to keep order, and keep people out of the construction site. And they see you, coming up, and they're like, lady, no, you don't want to go in there. It's not finished. Everything's going to be unstable given the situation. I got some of my guys back here. They'd been leaving. I'm trying to keep people out because we're trying to do our best. It's dangerous in there.
Speaking bubbles start popping up. Greetings, I am the artist. I am in need of your great assistance. I wish to move these cranes to support the buildings there, and there, so that we may stop more casualties.
I never thought I'd be living Star Wars.
And so it starts pointing big arrows to the buildings, the locations where I want them moved to.
What do you want us to do with them?
And so then a picture shows up of a crane and the arm of the crane going at the angle, and then
Let's
this is a very rudimentary picture of a building at this point, and
Like a
leaning
Teen
against it.
Titans thought
Yeah,
bubble.
exactly.
Yeah.
A Teen Titans thought bubble showing him exactly what I want to do with the. And so
Do you think that's going to be okay? I mean, I don't want my guys to be responsible for something like that if it goes wrong.
what are we, the new Sentinels in this group?
Come up with a group
Sure.
name.
New Sentinels.
You guys have 30 seconds.
New Sentinels. That's what I was
Alright.
using. So
I'm
New
fine with
Sentinels.
it.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
yeah.
I assure you, the new Sentinels will take full responsibility.
All right. He turns around and he's like, "Hey, you louts, come on. Get back in there. Get into the equipment. We're going to use it to brace some of these buildings to try and hold them up if the next wave strikes. So just keep them up. See that one?" And he starts calling out orders and such, and then he calls out to some people. I'm going to need you guys to clear, keep everybody clear the street in this area and stuff like that. He gets the bulldozer to start pushing cars ahead of the other things, and just put some stuff up to scoop it away and all.
Awesome.
All right. What, Wilfredo? Are you continuing in your same endeavor at this point, or are you changing at the moment? Okay.
No, I'm focusing on saving as many people. Have I succeeded in pulling away the cars that were about to fall down off the bridge?
Did you see what as you pulled the cars away?
No. As you remember, I was trying to pull some cars away from the edge. Have I succeeded at that?
You
Okay.
are getting some because you rolled an 8 and it was an 8 on the difficulty. I said that it was going to be slower and so you are succeeding, but the weight of the scarabs can't all go onto the bridge because by all means they have a good amount of weight, and so it is taking you some more time. When that other wave went through, you did literally, some of the cars, the whole thing kind of bounced and such in it, and some of the cars did slip off that you'd been trying to get to because you're kind of having to bring up the close cars first so the next car back has room. And but you are making progress. The watercraft below you, you definitely see that the waves that are rocking through give some of them trouble. Some of them capsize, putting more people in the water. But at this point, everybody on the boats, or as many as they have life jackets, life preservers, things that will keep them, safe but frozen and possibly poisoned because they're going into the river in the Hudson. But they should not be drowning, and they're definitely trying to come up with every flotation device that they can, and get them out to people.
Okay, what about the cars that fell earlier? Can they be seen? Can they be rescued?
The cars that fell, but like during the initial strike of this earthquake, they quickly sunk, and you think that's probably the people that you saw swimming in the water, or possibly some of them were, did not get out of their vehicles. The cars that are falling right now, as that second wave goes through, you can take an action if you've got something to try and get down there and rescue them as it begins to happen.
And I finally remembered. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What's the range of my telekinesis?
Looking real quick. 50 meters, so half a football field.
So can I reach them from the bridge?
As they're falling, but to get them down at the water level, probably you're going to have to get closer.
So that will be an action to teleport down and then use the telekinesis, right?
Yeah, but we're not in an action round, and so it's all just what is Nightcrawler doing in his comic book panel type stuff. So there's not a hard time limit.
We will probably teleport into a barge or something similar, a boat, and from there start using telekinesis to rescue people.
Okay. So as the bridge shakes in the latest quake, and cars are dumped back into the river. The Scarab Queen curses in a language that no one near her understands, and then this glowing set of scarab wings appears and parts open, leaving this kind of portal open that people that just look into it, they become even more ghost white than they were already from the surroundings. Scarab, without fear,
Don't look
steps
this way,
into
people.
it. Scarab steps into it, to take a quick step through the land of the dead, and appears onto one of the barges. Then she summons up scarabs that are able to do the bug walk on water type of thing, playing with surface tension and all. And those insects somehow are able to move out to where these cars are, and then without breaking surface tension, lift the cars up onto them and begin, transporting them back to the barge and all. And you at this point, with this display of it, some people are beginning to cheer for the Scarab more than you're used to, with the amount of fear that you instill in people with the bugs and the land of the dead.
Those are my boys.
All right. I think everybody has gotten.
Okay, continue focusing on rescuing people.
Yeah, continue focus on rescuing people.
And
Yes.
Brandon, for our audience, I finally remembered. It's been a few months. I apologize, but I'm dressed as a Shen Yu scarf dancer.
Ooh,
So
that's
if you
beautiful.
Google up Shen Yun scarf dancing, you'll see that that's basically the garb, where it's lots of flowing robes and scarves are flying everywhere, and I'm dressed in pink, purple, and blue.
We'll have a link to some picture in the video,
Sure.
so that way people can have something, and then they can go look at more for this beautiful art form that
Cool.
that you're going with.
It is stunning.
Oh yeah, I've seen little videos of it and all, and it's fantastic. Aldo,
Yes.
as the rest of the team is focused on trying to rescue, you're more trying to find out where is this coming from. Since it doesn't seem to be an external threat, it more seems to be an internal to Manhattan, something that is occurring there. And
Yes.
you fly around for a time, and since the wave only lasts for a fairly short time, but you continue to use your deductive reasoning and such, and trying to get that up. So sometimes you go the wrong way, and then you start to see that things are they have changed. You're going against the way the flow, or you're going with the flow of the earthquake, and so then you adjust and such, and you find yourself moving further and further down into the financial district of New York, close to where the Brooklyn Bridge lets off, passing City Hall and such like that as you travel further and further down.
Okay.
As you continue on your way, you end up in pretty much the center of the financial district, a couple blocks away from where the One World Trade Center is. And Mindy comes in with reports that the newly constructed One World Trade Center has similarly suffered major damage during this, and that there are responders that are going there. The Life Flight helicopter for Staten Island Ferry has been rerouted over to One World Trade Center to try and rescue people from the roof. And because there's major damage that people are not being able to get out of there. Lady Liberty, you have people that are off of the Brooklyn Bridge at this point. Wilfredo, you've gotten the cars out of the water and pulled a lot of the vehicles back from the from the precipice on the Manhattan Bridge. There are finally, during this time period, first responders with vehicles, with equipment, have begun to arrive on the bridges to try and assist you guys. Everybody that you're seeing out of these first responders looks like they have had a day, as the saying goes. That just like you guys, they are covered in smoke, in dirt from working with people. Alice, your scarves are no longer this beautiful pinks and blues naturally. You of course have illusion magic, and so they still look this nice and pristine. But everybody definitely looks like they have had a heck of a night. That is a responder. Most of the streets, the cars are still kind of broken down and such, but they've been pushed aside. That people have moved on getting their vehicles out of the way. But since the bridges are down, one of the tunnels is down, and they don't know when the next one's going, there's not a place for all the people to leave Manhattan, and so there's just cars strewn all over the place. Aldo, as you're flying around, you see a parking lot that their price is covered up with a new higher number than the normal price of using the parking lot and such to get vehicles out. And as you are flying around, since you're really the one that's moving through the city, you definitely start to see groups of people in panic that are beginning to get into a mob mentality during this crisis situation. And at this point, each action that I've done with you guys, I've said about an hour or something. It's just a loose guesstimate, but this is probably 2 hours after that initial strike. So we're looking at 7 p.m. Around at this point.
Have I been able to move on to the Holland Tunnel?
You are done at your bridge, having gotten the vehicles all rescued, having gotten some really solid information to the whole group about where it's coming from, and are probably able to be moving on to the Holland Tunnel at this point.
As I said, I'm going to go over the area that the artist is in and report back to her where there's equipment near to her so she can continue her idea, because it was a really good one.
Mm-hmm. Sure. As you fly across, the Brooklyn Bridge and up to Chinatown and such, and by all means, that is the right in your path. You're able to take some time to kind of survey, and with your eidetic memory, you can basically give Mindy a list of addresses wherever you see equipment. Just because you know what New York looks like from the air, every single address in the city.
I can also give her directions and such, even once I'm at the tunnel if she needs them and such.
And so you just are able to funnel this information through Mindy, who is similarly able to try and begin instituting that on a wider range by trying to get either the first responders or construction crews associated with those sites to respond and lend aid with that.
Then I will do everything I see, I will go in a sort of circular motion, not straight to the island. So I will literally start at Brooklyn Bridge, going around New York Stock Exchange, then up that west, sort of over Tribeca, West Village, to the Holland Tunnel there. So covering more that area, doing a bit more of a broad scale.
All right. Go ahead and give me a persuasion insight check. And I'm doing it persuasion even though you're not the one that's specifically talking to it. You guys have a plan that artists came up with. You're trying to institute it through the methods that you guys have on getting more and more people to be able to assist here.
And therefore, if we get any more aftershocks or whatever cause, there's bracing. And also as buildings start destabilizing more, there's bracing. So
persuasion is based on what?
Insight. Unless you're trying to tell people I'm going to punch you in the face unless you do what I want.
No, but that means I have a basis of +9.
That's intimidation.
That is a -1 versus a +6.
Nice.
So a 14.
Yes.
Okay. As you you call out, and before you make it to the hall and tunnel, you begin to see the effect of the work that different things are mobilizing within the city, to just try and brace some, and also you're able to identify the buildings that need bracing, at least on a quick survey of them, and that a lot of that construction equipment begins coming to bear to try and assist people while this is all going on.
And you said there was the mob mentality. Do I notice that?
You definitely see that as you are flying around as well, that people are beginning to get into a mob mentality. Ghostlight's much more on a street level flying around because he's trying to follow the specific things to try and track things down, the source of the origin. You are up above, and so you begin to see looters going into businesses, because when a giant earthquake hits, you need a TV. That is the American way.
I'm actually going to those closest to the Holland Tunnel. I'm going to grab them. I mean, I'm going to literally go down and say, you're going to tell me you're going to break the window, steal, while there are people in there dying who could use your help. You're with me. Come now. And then I'm going to say, blankets, water. I'm not even going to ask them. I'm just literally going to say, you, blankets, you, this. I'm just going to assign people in that area task. Say, grab people on your way. Don't ask them. Tell them. If you ask them, they will think. You don't want people thinking. You want them reacting to do the task. Go get people. Get this. We got to get people out of here. And then I'm going to start dragging cars and such and start clearing the tunnel.
Okay, you drop down into the middle of a group that is really gotten riled up. People are breaking windows, grabbing TVs and such. It's like a Target or something that they have decided to break into, and there's other businesses and such that they're busting into. And you drop down and you just begin addressing the group. Go ahead and make your persuasion check on that.
That's only going to be a 12.
Only a 12.
I had a 14 just before.
I know. Listening to Lady Liberty all of a sudden just drop down amidst them and, start assigning orders and such to these people. And she quells that mob mentality that's based out of fear, of uncertainty, of a belief that all of a sudden, there was going to be too many of us to blame from some people. And she quiets the rabble-rousers among them and convinces all the followers immediately to, the cause that she is proposing. She keeps them on message, let's go loot the store, but she changes what the goal of that message is going to be we're going to loot the store and we're going to get our relief supplies and we're going to go rescue people. And so go ahead.
I wanted to get the leaders of this, those who are capable of impressing people and getting people, and those were the ones I'm setting off. Go get more people. Go do this. Go do that. So if I could, to create more of a ripple effect in this area, it'll take time. But if 1 in 10 listen, it's 1 in 10 that's helping somebody.
Yep. And these leaders do listen. Some of them are less inclined to follow, but others of them they like after you have a little stern word with them and such is they kind of turn around and they're like, I just got deputized by Lady Liberty. I mean, what are the chances of that?
Yeah. And, they've got the ego. I may as well just use that.
That sounds wonderful. And they quickly come, and instead of flying into the Holland Tunnel by yourself to begin to pull people out, you fly with a mob at your back of people that are organized, that are rescuing folks, similar to what Aldo was doing in the financial district when the crisis first struck. But here you've taken those rioters, and instead of going into some sort of physical conflict just to cow them or something like that, you've subverted that, given them a purpose, and given them a goal that can accomplish.
Okay. Cool.
All right, so that's going to be your action for the hour, is getting into the tunnel, taking your survey, getting equipment, and then organizing some of those people that were up to no good.
Having them grab tow lines from cars and hitching it on there and manually pulling 6-7 people per car and dragging it out.
Yeah. And so they're focused on, like, they're entering the tunnel and getting the nearest cars. You fly down into the depths of the tunnel where the problems more are, and start working on that end and such.
Yeah.
So, Wilfredo, you are finished up. It took a while for you to get everybody safe in the area, but all those vehicles, as well as the watercraft that began to run into trouble in that local area, you and your wonderful scarabs that somehow come from wherever your eyes can't look. Like from a USB port, if there's a computer around, a scarab can crawl out of, and such like that. So any little crack, crevice, something like that, they can just pop out of. And you and this army of the scarabs are able to rescue all sorts of people. The garbage skiff that you're on, the captain and you have been working together to try and rescue people, and getting them, they might be stinky, but they're going to be alive, and keeping them as warm as possible and such.
Okay.
What is your action? What are you going to want to do with this third round, basically?
Okay, first of all, we are all still connected via Mindy, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mindy, does she have any new information?
The information... The information she continues to come in with all sorts of alarms that are going off, but that she is able to confirm what Lady Liberty and Aldo are working off of, that it definitely does seem to be originated in the financial district, or that southern area, like Two Bridges, World Trade Center area, Tribeca, somewhere in there that Aldo is currently tracking down, and she and Aldo are working together to try and come up with that. But there's a bunch more of the alarms, like I was saying, including the World Trade Center has that they have not been able to evacuate, and a bunch of the top floors are individuals that are still trapped, that they are trying to get to.
Okay, and assuming that I have been informed that Lady Liberty is working at the tunnel, then I am going to the World Trade Center to help evacuate people over there.
Okay.
In that general area.
Yeah, you're going to spend a while to get across town, unless you've got a better plan.
That can be helped.
Yep, okay. Oh, silly kids. So, Artist, you have got your groups organized locally. You have made not everybody's safe, but you've made a big difference in Chinatown.
Okay.
And you can feel, out of all this group, you can feel that difference, because the emotions that everybody is releasing, there's still fear, they're still scared, but there's hope. Mm-hmm. But unlike, when my grandmother was in Watsonville, which was the epicenter for the '89 earthquake, and she told me that literally she thought the world was ending when that earthquake hit, because it's just unimaginable the power that comes with these things.
Yeah.
And then my grandfather, he got home from work, and he took her for a drive around, and to show her, everything else that had happened, and said that, we're not the ones with problems right now. We made it through okay. We have the two of us. The house is still standing, and that. You realize how big things are. And so here you've been able to provide people with a light at the end of that Holland tunnel,
Right.
as they say.
Which is exactly why I wanted to shift their perspective and start empowering them, giving them something they can do to have an effect. At which point, when they start basically being done, I'm going to grab the construction workers and I'm going to ask them to start basically spreading out to other areas that they know that has construction going on, and can start doing that to the buildings out there. And once Chinatown is under control, I'm going to move to the next neighborhood and start where community centers are, because that's where people are going to start flooding at this point, since we're an hour 3, and I'm going to start making certain that there is some sort of calming and hope given to those people so that a difference can be made, and then I'm going to start spreading out. If I deal with looters, I'm going to deal with them very decisively, and I'm going to basically be retasking them as well by utilizing my empathy to shift their perspective, to adjust and empower them to say, you can be a force of improvement here.
I just imagine the artist running into looters, and since she can't communicate with words like English.
Oh, I can start whipping them with my scarves.
Oh,
No. See,
Okay.
what I saw is they're going into the store, and all of a sudden a giant stop sign just appears in front of them, and then that fades away into the text, and it's like, your mother would not approve.
That works too. I can totally see myself doing that. I was also thinking that I'd be, getting their attention by whipping them with scarves so that they'll look at me, since if they can't communicate. But yes, big stop signs, big, do not cross signs. At one point I was thinking of the railroad do not cross signs as well, stuff like that. So yeah, similar things. But I want to basically start creating a change in the community center, and then spreading out so where people are congregating.
In other words, having the looters not loot the TVs, having them loot the blankets and the milk and the
Yes,
bread
exactly.
and everything else.
Exactly.
Don't change their general plan, just shift what they're taking, basically.
Exactly. And the other thing being that, when I get to the community centers, my goal is to shift that everybody's in despair and panic to I can be empowered to do something to make a change. So rather than hiding here crying in a little corner, let me, I can go and help lift somebody up, stuff like that. Just start shifting their perspective, because that's what you need in a time like this.
Yep.
I
just love how we're all feeding off each other's ideas and bringing little individual plans into a big thing while acting. It's awesome.
Awesome. I'm glad you're having fun.
Artist, as you're moving through, and you're at a much slower pace than what Lady Liberty or even Ghostlight goes.
I do want to grab a scooter. So if I find oh gosh, what's the term?
Vespa?
Vespa, yeah. If I find a Vespa, I'm going to grab a Vespa and just start driving it.
Sure.
I mean, you're in Chinatown. There's a lot of them.
Right, Vespa. Why I specifically wanted a Vespa.
You're moving closer to the ground, a little bit slower and such. Even on the scooter, it's going on the roads is slow going by all means. And you notice something else. You notice the aftermath of some of these looters. You see the shopkeepers that were trying to protect their shops, that have been assaulted, that are there, that were left after, being beaten down by a group. And it's obvious to you, having delivered more than your fair share of beatings to somebody, what, an earthquake versus what a beating might look like.
Yep. I would basically try and gather as many of them as possible. Switch at that point. I'm going to look for a van that I can take over, and it's going to be slow going, or basically a vehicle that I think can get around even if I'm slow. But start moving these shop owners and whatnot into a vehicle where I can get them to the community centers to get help.
Okay. And Aldo, we're jumping over to you. You, given your time, your investigation, you end up coming down, and as you are closing and closing, you realize what you are circling around is the Federal Reserve.
Ah. Okay.
And so at the as you start the hour and such, you are pretty convinced that if they're that this location is probably significant to the events that are going on here.
Hey everybody, I think I've tracked this to the Federal Reserve. I'm going to phase in and see what I see. I'm going to go silent.
If you need help, give a call.
All right.
LL 如果他需要我们的话，我需要你接我，麻烦你。I say
I'm gonna get water.
if he's gonna need our help, I'm gonna need a pickup, please.
The artist is offering, she's requesting a pickup if you give the signal for help. I'll pick her up.
All right.
谢谢。
Good deal. Here I go.
You did say thank you.
小心哦 and I tell you, be careful.
Nope.
I will.
Yep.
Brandon says we can keep babbling. He needs a second.
Well, I said I would go in for water. She sees me, and then she always, as soon as she sees me in the other room, she's always, I'm going to be quiet as I can.
So, Garrett, how are you?
I don't know.
Garrett,
Like,
how
come
are things?
on.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Garrett, how are
yeah.
things at your end?
All right. So you
Joanne was asking something of Scarab. Lady Liberty.
Garrett, how are things at your end?
Somebody asking me?
How are things at your end, Scarab?
Was I asked a question?
Yes. Lady Liberty asked, "How are things at your end?"
Oh, I'm not sure if I am there yet. I was heading to the World Trade Center. That was going to take a while, correct?
yes, and your path over to World Trade Center runs you're heading in the way of the Federal Reserve as well. It wouldn't be a direct path, but you're going to be passing within a few blocks of the Federal Reserve where Ghostlight is saying that he is.
So do I see or sense anything beyond what is already going on, of course? Let's see, I have got special senses. I have got time sense, infrared vision, and remote sensing. Do I pick anything with that?
So, blind sense is just in your local area that what you pick up. Your infrared is that basically your eyes, like a bug's, scarabs can work well at night,
Okay.
and so it picks up the infrared. So like predator vision. And then remote sensing is that you can send out bugs to go and scout for you, the scarabs, and then you can see through their eyes. And so if you have an application for one of these, by all means, tell me what you're doing and how you're doing it.
And don't forget, Wilfredo, when I was researching the character, there are more colorations and types of scarabs than there are in colorations of butterflies. There are scarabs that are literally metallic in their shells, so you can build mirrors with them. You can build reflective surfaces that magnify light and stuff like that. That's what I was doing with them, was getting the gold and prismatic scarabs because they exist in the wild. It's crazy how beautiful they are. There are more variations than there are butterflies.
Yeah, but still, right now, I am focusing on going to rescue the people at the World Trade Center, unless a Ghostlight or someone else gives me a hint that something might be going on over the reserve.
Well, Ghostlight said over the intercoms that he thinks he's tracked the source of the quakes to the World Trade to the Federal Reserve, and he said that he was going in and he was going silent because he's going into scouting mode, but he wanted to let you guys know where he was, and that's that. So you know that much.
Okay. What's the range of my remote sensing?
It would be semi-local. Let me look that up on it. The best thing for radio is looking things up to understand them. Matter, endowment, I passed sensory. Remote sensing. Must be within distance equal to the measure for the cluster rating. So it's about a football field that you can do it at. I would have loved it to been higher, but I was trying to do a lot. She is a character that definitely should have the Mystic Cluster, which just allows you access to everything, but you can only use it that way once per round. And but I didn't want to pass that character sheet off to somebody and say, oh yeah, you can use the whole book, because that would be very hard.
Yeah.
I understand, yeah. Too bad I was hoping to leave it over there to watch the place, but apparently they can't. So
what place are you trying to watch? Just the Federal Reserve?
Uh-huh. But I guess I can't. So
I would let you use a hero point, basically, application. Alice, you read those. Is that something that's covered, the power stunting?
Power stunting is, but one type of power stunting requires 2. So if you're doing plot devices or anything like that, so spend 2 points to shrug it off, push a power, or 3 hero points to do other, to literally change plot, just plot. But pushing a power is considered 2 hero points. Doing it with style, if that's what you want to say, because it's still within the purview of this of the thing, that type of stunting is only 1 hero point. So if it's still within the feel of it, just doing it with style, you can cost 1. If you think
I would say this is going to cost 1.
Okay, great.
Because this is within the purview of the character. Mm-hmm. It is just not in the specific translation that I gave it. Yeah.
Then that only costs 1. Yes.
Okay, then I'm going to spend 1 hero point and send one of my scarabs to watch over the Federal Reserve, and I keep on going toward the World Trade Center.
Okay. And it's not just going to be 1 scarab. They will come out and they will start, coming around the building and going all over to check out what's going on. Okay, so Scarab, go ahead and give me a sensory roll. So that would be your 2d6 with a modifier of 4, as you're using remote sensing.
Positive is 4. Negative is 2, so that's 2.
So 6
will be.
Okay. As soon as you're moving across, and you task a group of bugs, these bugs leave from you and begin marching, just filling the street and marching towards the Federal Reserve. People scream in the streets and such, and as this begins to happen. They quickly move out of the way. The scarabs do not bother any of the people. They move aside around people and such. But they begin moving that way. We'll get back to your sensory roll after they arrive. Aldo, so what is Ghostlight's plan here? I know you were going quiet and going in.
Yes. So, phasing through walls and staying within walls as he kind of circles the perimeter and, stick to the floors and the walls and poke his head out and see what he sees, basically.
Okay.
And tighten the circle as he goes.
So as you are moving there, you actually begin to notice this rhythmic thump, and you can feel the ground jump whenever it goes off. And it's probably about 3 seconds in between, these pulses that go off. And so that's the first thing, just as you arrive on scene, really.
Okay. He'll proceed if it doesn't seem like, if it's just noticeable, but it doesn't seem like it's going to harm him.
Go ahead and make a quick investigation check. We're going to go ahead and just make it a 6.
Okay. So the positive is a 3, the negative is a 5, so it's -2, unfortunately. My insight is a 4, so it's just a 2.
Okay. So yeah, you do take notice of that
Mhm.
as you are
Okay.
coming on the scene. You you move in and into the walls, and as the matter is passing through, you can feel it literally moving up and down as you go through, and
Mhm.
it's going. Um, you do you have stealth?
I have security. I don't know what all that includes, but I
You
do
know,
not
any
have
Apple. It's security is very similar to security in supers. So
to info. What do you call it? It's not called security, but
intrusion.
intrusion. That's it.
Yeah, so it would be very much on that security
Okay.
aspect of the intrusion stuff.
Okay. Cool. So it should.
Well, bless you again.
So try roll a security then as stealth.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, 6 and 6. So 0
Okay.
plus 5. No, plus is it fitness?
I think it's more insight on the application. So
4 then. It's a 4 total.
all right, you move around and you are able to come to the security office. You and as you look around, and there's sensors that have been going off all over. You're able to analyze the data. The guards don't seem to be in the security office at this point. Perhaps it's to do with what's going on that has driven them out, or something happened. You're not really certain. You haven't seen any signs of a scuffle.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I'm going to have to clear my throat or I'm going to die. Give me just a moment. All right. Yeah, the other day I tried to power through one of those when it was just little, and before the end of my sentence, I was just like, I can't talk anymore. And so you're not certain why the security guards aren't in the office right now, but you have not seen any signs of a scuffle while you've been here. There is a seismic alert going off in the Federal Reserve that something is going on, and your ability to analyze the sensory data does give you a pretty good idea of where that is coming from, and would be underneath the vault, basically.
Okay. Okay. Are there any cameras in the security?
Yeah, you've got cameras all over the facility. You don't see intruders. You see some of as you look at the cameras, you see some of the security guards basically trying to escort people that had similar ideas, looters, or perhaps people just trying to find a place and trying to keep a perimeter, and that they seem like they're overtasked and so have pulled everybody out of the security office at this point.
Okay, he'll relay to everybody that he thinks that whatever is causing this is under the vault of the Federal Reserve, and that he's heading over there, and then he will head over there. So he'll head to the vault and then try to phase down beneath it.
Okay. Go ahead.
I will grab the artist and meet you there.
All right, good deal.
Scarab, are you on your way there? You on your way to the Federal Reserve?
Yes, I hope that I am there already or close.
Yeah. Then I'll grab.
I have been doing several teleport jumps.
Cool.
All right.
I will give the artist a point to meet, and I will head for there after giving everybody instructions to continue on the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome.
I will send off a couple to find construction crews to start doing stuff there too. Got to save that tunnel.
All right. Wilfredo, your army of scarabs arrives as Aldo has gathered this information, begin to disperse around the facility. You do see the exact same stuff that I was telling him about the ground. Your scarabs can feel it jumping up around them and all. And you see the security guards kind of dealing with people that are trying to either cause trouble or seek safety at the Federal Reserve. And your bugs begin to burrow down into the earth and look for places, and they come across a tunnel beneath the earth. And sorry, my throat is dying, apparently.
No problem.
I have been there.
Yeah.
Don't put your throat out of your misery.
I'm going to be off camera, but I'll keep talking. The bugs that you are sending, they find a tunnel that is down beneath the Federal Reserve, and you track it down to these four guys, one of which is literally punching up to get into the vault. These individuals are in a combination of street clothes, construction worker gear, as well as metal parts that are painted in that same yellow of construction gear and such. You guys, as a superhero group, you would have some idea of different villains and such, and so you're welcome to make an insight check if you would like.
Definitely. That will be, my check is 4, right? Let's see. Positive die, 5. Negative die, 6, so that's -1. And I had a 4, so that would be only 3. 5.
You aren't certain who this group is. They're not ones that you have tangled with before. But the descriptions of them, like I said, they've got these, metal, bright yellow, like the construction equipment has often. One of them is literally punching up. His fists as he punch really blur into kind of like a jackhammer type motion, and just the ground is jumping whenever he does that. Another one, as the soil is crumbling away under his assault, kind of moves up to him and touches the loose soil, and then it kind of pulls up onto him, and he becomes much more like an earth elemental, and then he walks away and he shoots it out elsewhere. And he keeps doing that, collecting in the matter and then depositing it elsewhere so their tunnel doesn't flood. The other two, you're not seeing anything that they are doing super powered wise, but they seem to be standing by and ready. All these guys are, pretty big, 6 foot plus, pretty muscular individuals. Definitely look like they've had a rough and tumble life or something, broken noses, heavy blunt fingers, things like that.
Okay. These people might or might not have something to do with what is going on, but they are definitely up to no good. So I am going to send out a warning via Mindy to everyone to do something about them, and then continue my way toward the World Trade Center to help rescue people over there, assuming that I am needed there. Still needed.
The World Trade Center is still in trouble, people. The group is, by all means, calling to assemble at the Federal Reserve to deal with whatever the problem is, which you seem to have found, and you and Aldo have discovered.
So that's the question. Do I
and Aldo, you think about that, Wilfredo. Aldo, with Wilfredo's assistance on where those guys are on his bugs, you're able to phase your way down into that tunnel.
Okay, awesome. All right, team, I'm in the tunnel. For what it's worth, I don't think I can take these 4 guys. Not by myself, but I'm going down.
We're on our way.
So at the moment, you can get in there because you can phase. Beyond that, I think that Scarab can get in there and get other people in there because she can teleport.
Scarab, we're going to need you. We may need you to get us into the tunnel.
Okay. Very well. I am going to have to trust the people of New York to be able to hold on for a while. And then I am going to turn around and go help the team
Okay.
deal with these never-do-wells.
So Aldo, while you're waiting for the rest of the group to assemble, what are you doing?
Well, if he can get within visual range, he'll kind of, observe them. Unless it looks like they're going to do something that needs interrupting, he'll wait for the rest of the party.
Okay.
For the rest of the team.
Go ahead and give me a fitness. It's a stealth roll, which was if you had one more skill, was the skill I was going to give Ghostlight.
All right. 4 and 2, that's a 2 plus fitness, you said, right? That's a 5 total.
You're able to move up without really any difficulty, staying back, keeping the ghost light itself covered up a bit.
Yeah.
And there are torches that they've got as in lamps that they have in the tunnel, providing some light, so your light doesn't stand out that much. And you can feel as you're getting closer to them, because the ground shakes and such, you feel something or hear something large moving around, and then suddenly it sounds kind of like an avalanche or a mudslide, as all of a sudden all this matter is just deposited out of dirt and such. And you see this group like I was describing them, and you do recognize, as an FBI agent, you automatically recognize this as a group known as Earthworks. They are, yes, because the wrecking crew was taken.
I was thinking about that.
Nice little reference there.
That too, yeah.
And
Nice.
so this is similar to Marvel's Wrecking Crew. This is a group of thugs that really would like a payday, that have been given power beyond their imaginings, and the most that they can think of is to take out their aggression on the world and try and get some money. And so apparently today they have put together a plan to get into the Federal Reserve. And so the ones that you see, all 4 members of it, you have Trencher, who is the one that is literally punching their way in. And he is able to tunnel, he's able to dig, he hits like a truck, and they're all extremely tough on their physical capabilities. You've got Roller, who is able to basically ball up into a Sonic-like ball and then run over people and basically leave them entangled in stuff that he has rolled them into. You've got Dump Truck, which is the one that you are seeing touch material, pull it up, becoming like an earth elemental, move, and discharge material. He's tough like the rest of them and is able to do stuff, discharge that material and create walls and such with it. And then the last one is he is the leader of the group, only because he's really the meanest and nastiest one of them. But definitely not the brightest. He's Mandrill, and no matter how many times it's been explained to him that a Mandrill is a monkey, he sticks with it. And
I love that.
And he punches like a tank would. And just like all of them, he's the toughest out of them. Punches really tough, really hard. And so none of these guys are ones that any of you guys, except maybe Lady Liberty, are really going to want to trade punches with. And even her, she'll probably feel them when they're going after, especially Mandrill. But when he has been in custody, the FBI has suggested perhaps taking another name for him, Jackham or something, but he is stuck with Mandrill.
Mandrill. Okay, that's LL's job.
The difference is, he's not the only one who can hit her.
Yup.
So if you just want to wait for your team, you're welcome, and we can get them here.
Okay.
Yep, that's what he's going to do. Especially
So-
in light of what you just described.
All right. And the way that trencher works is since the trencher is the big disc with the saws and such as he spins his arms and all, and so it's like Alice's whirling, but it's on a different axis, and that allows him to rip stuff up.
Okay.
I was, the Wrecking Crew seemed like great villains, and I came up with a different interpretation of all of them. So, the rest of the new Sentinels arrive in the tunnel a ways back. You guys, through communication, have been updated as to everything that's going on, so you guys effectively have the ball in your court.
All right. Well,
We had surprise in what
yeah, I'm going to suggest that I try to blind as many of them as possible with a blast, a flash of light, and and then take advantage.
I post up a question. What is the terrain like in there? Can you draw out something for us?
It's a tunnel.
It's a tunnel. It's wide. That the broken ground, a lot of loose dirt and such, and at times you've got basically berms of earth where dump truck has deposited what he picks up and drops off.
How tall?
About 10 foot tall.
So I can just basically carry her and myself over the ground without any issue.
You can, carry any of them. You could carry all of them. We have said that Lady Liberty needs a little chariot attached to her to ferry the team around.
Yes, the LL taxi. I remember this so well. My back already hurts from it. Okay. So.
Do I get to charge people like Uber?
No, unfortunately, you don't get to do that. So.
I mean, I have my Halloween costume for then, don't I?
Brandon, he's going to just kick it off. He's going to dive into the earth, fly kind of underneath the are, come up in their midst, and flash them.
Okay.
3 meter, or actually it's a 1 meter radius. So as many as he can. Maybe it's only a couple of them. Maybe one.
You could get roller, dump truck, and mandrill all at the same time. Trencher is a little bit forward. Okay. So, Lady Liberty, where are you on initiative?
Can I go last?
By all means, you could go last if you want to.
13.
13? Okay, what about Scarab?
Okay, my initiative is 6, so that's positive is 2, negative is 4.
So 4.
That.
Ghostlight.
9.
And then Artist.
I don't actually have an initiative thingy, but I mod it by 4 from my power.
So fitness plus insight plus 4.
Okay. Fitness plus insight plus 4. That's an 8 mod, so 9 is what I'm on.
9.
And let me go and write that down on my character sheet. Thank you.
You and Ghostlight go at the same time. You guys figure it out each round.
Wait, I've got initiative written down as 10, but I have fitness and insight total of 11.
I might not have changed it as I modded your thing. So, but you're still way first.
That would be 14 then. Shit.
So
it
sounds like you want to delay for a bit.
You don't want to go first. Don't want to go first.
So, from what I heard, Ghostlight is going to start the action off. Is that correct, guys? We're letting him phase through and then come out at them?
Yeah.
All right. So, Ghostlight, you're going to be the first one that gets into the madness. So, go ahead and tell us what it looks like as you come out and what is going on.
Yeah, so he dives into the earth, flies underneath them. He comes out, arms outstretched, his cape flowing, and just bursts into a brilliant flash of light and spirals up as he's doing that, and he'll fly up to if he can, he'll end his round kind of at the 10-foot high mark. And you said he can get 3 of them in the light, right? So he's trying to blind them.
Okay. You're going to get a +2 for surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any awesome Ghostlight sayings at the moment?
No, I don't. I'm too
Okay.
tired.
Go ahead and give us your roll.
All right. So it's a 3 on the positive. It's a 2 on the negative. So that's a 1. And then it's +5 for the blinding. So that's 6, 7, 8 with a +2.
Okay. So, and then it's not Trencher that you're getting. Okay.
Right.
So. So the way this works is, however much you succeed by is the overkill. That is both the duration and the penalty that they take to their physical actions. And these guys don't have a whole lot of mental actions other than duh. Okay.
Well, if they're that dumb, that should be a good thing for us.
All right. Ghostlight popping out, Kate billowing in the manifestation of the blinding light amidst the bad guys. All of a sudden, Roller and Mandrill stumble back with their eyes covered, uncertain exactly what is going on. Mandrill calls out, "Trencher, you mook! You hit something! I can't see no more!" Apparently not even aware that you have arrived.
As soon as that he says...
Dump truck does not seem to be affected. Having maybe concentrating on grabbing material made him not really notice it.
With that scream out of that you hit something, your lung. I'm going to create a bubble over my head for Wilfredo, Scarab, and I'm going to tell him I'm going to create an illusion of an avalanche. I'm going to ask her to create a wall of scarabs behind that avalanche, therefore making a solid surface for us to knock them back into.
That's a great plan. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Lady Liberty, do you have an action?
Yeah. Dump truck or dumb truck seems to
I love it.
seems to be non-affected.
Yes.
I'm going to go over and grab him. I don't know if you've ever seen the Flintstones with Bam Bam, how he grabs the hand of Barney and that goes bam, bam, bam. Without the bam, bam, bam.
You are speaking my childhood right now.
Oh yeah, mine too.
I just sort of go over, grab his arm and go, dosh, dosh.
Okay. You fly up to him. At the moment, he is still under surprise, is what I'm going to rule. Basically, they'll come out of surprise when they get an action. And so you fly over to him and go ahead and get a +2 to your roll.
So that was +8, +2 is already a 10, correct?
Yep.
-1 of +5. Shit. No, you know where my DMs hate me. 14.
14, and she's complaining about it.
No,
All right,
my DMs complain, not me.
oh, okay.
Wow.
I hate my dice.
So 14, you do literally pick him up, and just between the walls, bam, 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 and out for a while you feel him resist you, and then he stops resisting you, and you just kind of chuck him back, the way that you came, his unconscious body kind of in an awkward, flail. And Dump Truck is out in one shot, and he wasn't an easy one to drop necessarily. you guys each have, except Lady Liberty, you naturally start with 4 wounds. And so as your wounds go up, you can have increased problems, increased die penalties. When you hit 4 wounds, you're unconscious. Lady Liberty has a range beyond that because she's awesome in that fashion instead of being able to phase through objects. All right. Next, we have Trencher, who, at first unaware that anything has happened, and he's like turning around, his arms stopping the buzzsaw motion, and he's like, "I didn't hit nothing," and then sees you guys. Aldo is kind of flying up above, but Lady Liberty he sees just toss, dump truck backwards. And he's like, "Why I oughta for a stupid dame taking out my pal dump truck?" And he's coming at you.
What do we have here? The 1920s, you uneducated... Actually, I'm too civilized to continue with that insult. I doubt you'd understand it anyway.
So
It was the best callback I've ever heard.
he starts running towards you, his arms picking up into that buzzsaw motion again, and he is going to smack into you for an 11 versus your toughness.
My toughness is 10, so that's 1.
Okay, so you take 1 point of damage. Similarly, because you have that super endurance, instead of taking a -1 penalty on all your die rolls, you would ignore a number of penalties equal to half of the cluster rating on that, as well as gaining extra wounds equal to half that cluster rating. And so, you actually feel it, and that's not common for you. You generally can shrug things off. You have people unload semi-automatics into your stomach and have felt nothing. So the fact that you actually, feel it and got knocked back a little bit is something that's noticeable for you. And
Do you know how much it costs for me to have my costumes made? Definitely not a gentleman.
All right. Ghostlight and the artist. Either one of you can go.
Ghostlight, you go first, because I want to line myself up with Wilfredo. I have a little bit of a plan working with Scarab.
Okay. Well, the 2 that are blinded.
Yes. Then yes, she took out the non-blind guy, and so the 2 that you blinded are still here.
All right. So he's going to go for one of them.
You've got Roller and Mandrill.
Say it again. It's Mandrill and who?
Roller, the guy that steamrolls over people.
Roller. Mandrill's the tougher one, correct?
Mandrill is going to be the toughest. He is the wrecker of the group.
Right. So I'm going to go for Roller, and I'm going to do a sort of an energy punch, basically. I assume that's my energy blast power.
Yes, I think so, and I think that also can be area, can't it? If you want it to be.
It can. Oh no, it's not. It's just range. That's the blind.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah. So he's going to basically give him an energy punch, an eldritch punch. 3 plus 10, so that's 13.
Okay. Hey, you guys are doing pretty well on these rolls, it sounds like. 13?
Yeah.
I was seriously worried that I'd made these guys too tough, literally on their toughness, and so I was trying to do something like that. And so Ghostlight comes in swinging, and with a discharge of the Ghostlight energy into Roller's solar plexus as the guy is stumbling around blind, drops him like a sack of potatoes. A dust cloud, pops up around him as he hits the ground.
Nice.
Artist, are you still holding?
I'm holding to line up with Wilfredo. We're going to do a variation of the fastball special together. Okay.
Roller is out already, so he loses his initiative, but Mandrill comes up, and he looks at Lady Liberty, and he's like, "Nah, me and my mooks still wish it was the 1920s, because then we could do this to a dame." And he takes do this to a broad, and then he is just going to go ahead and try and punch you as fast as he can.
What a jerk.
Yeah.
Brandon, I'm actually going to I'm going to use a hero point at this point.
I'm going to say no because I think this bounces off of her right now.
Okay, sure, no problem.
A 10 is, I think, your toughness. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So yes, he hauls off
My hero
and just
point
gets
would have been
ready to smack you as hard as he can. And he smashes into you just right in the solar plexus, and you, like, not even anything. You don't budge an inch as you're flying there. Your hair still, perfectly flying back from you, flowing the way that you have come. And with that, he gets this kind of like scared look on his face that, he runs around with all this power, and for you to have just kind of ignored it like that is quite a shock. Let alone that you're a woman, and apparently these guys are misogynists. So it's awesome that 3 women have shown up to take them out.
You need lessons in etiquette, my friend.
Scarab.
Give me my friends to give that
So
to you.
I want to be timing my stuff at the same time Scarab is. Scarab and I are going to create an avalanche.
Okay.
We're going to create and on the guy that's the farthest from us, we're going to basically pin his body down in that avalanche. So between the Scarabs and I'm going to be using a pull a stunt.
Get it, boys.
Which is utilizing use one of the character's powers for a single task, or one turn for a lasting power to reproduce the effects of another power that he either does not possess or is of a lesser rating. Comic book style explanation must be provided. What I'm doing is I'm combining 2 of my powers by utilizing this power stunt. I am going to utilize Brute as several of my scarves start whipping out, and it basically looks like it's hitting, acupuncture points in the tunnel right on the far side of us. And I they essentially the weak points, and at the same time to protect and cover Scarab's little army, I am going to be creating an illusion over those Scarabs, making it look like those are tumbling rocks, and and cover them up and make it look like a true avalanche from that.
Okay. That sounds awesome.
Okay, and my dice liked it. I rolled a 2 negative and 6 positive. So
all right, just are you taking Trencher out, the one that's been doing the digging?
Yes, the one in the far back from us. I would just we would be pinning his body down and crushing it. So I have a 12 with whatever Wilfredo does.
Okay, what do I need to roll?
Go ahead and roll your psych cluster. For your telekinesis is what I was hearing, correct?
Yes, and I'm covering up for the bugs by making it looking like a rain of rocks everywhere.
That will be +8, right?
Yes.
Okay. Positive is 6. Negative is 2. So that's
12.
12.
I got a 12 as well.
Okay. So, like I mentioned earlier, for teamwork checks, you both just roll against the difficulty, which in this case would be his toughness, and then you add the two rolls together, and both of you ended up with 12s. So you both ended up overkilling him pretty heavily, and so you guys just absolutely, both of you spending a hero point to do this. Are going to basically pin him in all these scarabs that are holding him down, and not allowing his arms to create the necessary buzzsaw motion that provides him power.
Awesome. No more digging for you.
So, we jump back to the top at this point to Lady Liberty, who might be able to give us our knockout. And each time you guys have attacked, other than all those opening blind, you guys have gone just straight from a full bad guy and somebody who was reasonably tough in the system to somebody who's been knocked out.
Well, yay.
I'm going to look at the one who just punched me, say, the first lesson of etiquette is sitting down. I'm going to walk up and just go bump him on the head. Literally just have him, so his sort of legs slide out and he just sort of sits there.
I love that.
Wow.
Okay.
-1,
Ooh.
+6.
Oh, nice. I got a -2 +6.
So she got the best roll that she can, which
Yes.
ends up at how much with your super strength?
It was 8 +5. Does
So-
a +2 still count?
No,
Okay. Then it is a 13.
13. And sit down. He's like, "Hey, lady, I ain't no sap. I ain't gonna."
That was not an invitation. That was not an invitation.
And as you guys have now dismantled earthworks, taking the easily going to be able to take them to prison again, and then the third quake hits, and with that we will close.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, before we
I hope you guys had a great time. I had a
Yeah.
fantabulous time running
it
for
was
you
a
all.
lot of fun.
did.
Yeah.
We didn't solve the adventure.
Nope. Maybe
Not
we'll do
yet.
another time.
We
So-
need to continue this.
Maybe.
But
No,
before
no, maybe. When are we doing
Okay.
it?
Well, before we close for the night, why don't we give some quick feedback on what we think of the SuperGame system? So why don't we start with Aldo first?
I liked it. I mean, I think I need to play it a little bit more before I have an opinion. I'm not a huge fan of the ± D6 mechanic. It's not that there's anything inherently wrong with it. It just doesn't. It's never been something that I like particularly well. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the rest of it enough that it didn't get in the way for me. Right. So I'm liking it. I'm liking it.
As to the dice rolling mechanic, Alice mentioned earlier, there's 3 dice. One of them is the ± D6. The another one is the 4 fudge dice, and then the last one is 2d10s, but that puts you on a chart and effectively is modeling a ± D6
Right.
kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. So it's just.
So it's
just
all
being
pretty
consistent.
similar.
Yeah.
Joanne, what about you?
I actually really like the system. At first, it seems rather overwhelming, but once you actually grasp it, I find that the mechanics are very simple, which I would actually, being a mother, see it as a potential game that you could use with children and teenagers. And those who are new to it, the fact that it also allows for a lot of role-playing and just being inventive with your abilities, I think gives it a big edge over a lot of other systems. I love the fact that it encourages creativity, where there's a lot of systems that don't do that. So it's definitely one I will be adding to my collection.
There are a few other systems we should teach you about, because there are other ones that are like that. Wilfredo.
Actually, I'm familiar with the SuperGame system because I had the game. I bought it several months ago. It's just that I had never had the chance to play it. So I was kind of rusty on it. But once we started playing it, well, I picked it up on it. In general, I have to agree that the whole 2 dice, the adding and resting, so I mean subtracting mechanic, that's kind of unusual to me because I have never played it before. But it can be, you can get used to it. The part that I really like is the overkill mechanic, because it's really satisfying when you hit the enemy really hard and you knock them out, or some other fantastic effect succeeds. That really fits the superhero genre, in my opinion.
I will definitely agree on the overkill mechanic on that part, because Mutants and Masterminds has that same style, but they give it to the defender to after you've punched them to roll a toughness. And I know one of Alice's big complaints with Mutants Masterminds is that you deliver this awesome blow, you've got a good description, and then they just kind of roll and they shrug it off.
Boing.
And so that all of a sudden it's, not as rewarding. And obviously on this one, I apparently should have toughened my guys up a little bit. My first time playing as well. But it was great. The overkill mechanic, the fact that you guys came in with a solid plan and disabled them pretty quickly was a really cool comic scene. And let's face it, the Wrecking Crew generally does not last that long against the concentrated force of the Avengers.
True.
Alice, what about you?
Well, I think that the system's an interesting mix between supers and icons plus an overkill mechanic. I see elements of both systems smashed into one, and I think that I like it in some ways. I think that it's a lot of fun because it's got that versatility, and the number system you definitely feel it. It's not numbers for numbers' sakes. I like those aspects. One thing I will note, though, is similarly to icons, when people were complaining that they were rolling that in the first edition, that GM wasn't rolling anything. Just remember, if your table doesn't like the players having to remember plus die, minus die, GM can always roll the minus die. You can roll your plus die. Easy. You have permission to do that. It is still the same system at that point. And that's the only note that I would make, because I know there are some people out there that really don't like the plus minus, but you don't feel it as a plus minus if you roll plus and the GM rolls the minus, which is exactly what they changed in Icons Assembled, but the system itself never changed. It's still the same engine and mechanics. So, but yeah, I had fun. I think we all had a blast. I like the way that the versatility of the powers go. I think that some of the powers, the way that they're written, it makes it hard for me to want to build by comparison to some other systems I've played, in a very honest feedback statement. But I like it so far, and I want to play more supers. So
yeah, I want to play more of it.
SuperGame.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Joanne.
One more point. I love the fact that the rolls did not interrupt the flow of the role play or of the game itself, which is a big thing in a lot of systems.
That I definitely agree with, because here, no matter what you're doing, we're condensed down to one roll, and that will tell us, with that overkill mechanic, the fact that it doesn't matter if I dodged or if I'm just tough. What did your punch do to me?
Right.
And that I think does work really well. One thing, the game in play, by all means, is a kind of a simple approach on a lot of things. In character generation, and that's the reason before we started, I went over and just wanted, because some powers you're adding half the power to this, half the power to that. Other powers you're getting the full rank. And so that's the reason I was like, we got to get this down on the sheets before we start playing, so that way everybody gets an idea of what they're supposed to toss. And so there is a little complexity in the character design, because you have to figure out what all works where. Reading it, some of the powers seemed subpar to other powers, would be the other character design comment that I would have.
Yeah.
This is my first play experience, though, so I don't know.
Well, that's our feedback, and we thoroughly enjoyed SuperGame and enjoyed this session. So thank you all for joining BWK and watching us. Have a wonderful day or a night wherever you are. Bye.
Thank you all for coming out. I know that I've got 3 people that are up later than I am, or in Joanne's case, much earlier.
Yes. Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thanks
everyone.
for having us.